Welcome to our journey into the fascinating world of insect vectors. Today, we're going to explore the insect thorax and legs, which act as the biological engine room driving these creatures. Understanding this anatomy is absolutely crucial for zoology students because the way an insect moves directly determines how it spreads diseases to humans and animals. Let us dive in and see how these tiny machines work. To truly understand the insect thorax, imagine you are looking at a highly advanced miniature sports car. While the insect's head acts as the steering wheel and sensory dashboard, the thorax is the powerful engine room and chassis combined. Formerly known as the middle tagma, it sits perfectly between the head and abdomen to balance the insect's center of gravity. This entire section is dedicated to movement, housing the massive muscles required for walking and flying. Without this specialized engine room, vectors like mosquitoes could never travel to find a host. Now that we understand the thorax acts as the engine room, let us look at how it is built. The thorax is structurally divided into three distinct segments. At the very front, just behind the head, we have the prothorax. Moving back, the middle segment is called the mesothorax. Finally, the rear segment connecting to the abdomen is the metathorax. Each of these segments plays a specific role in supporting the insect's appendages. By dividing the thorax this way, the insect achieves incredible flexibility and mechanical efficiency, which is vital for navigating complex environments to reach a host. Building on those three segments, we arrive at a defining feature of all insects. Each of the three thoracic segments bears exactly one pair of jointed legs. This gives insects their characteristic 6 legs, which biologists call the hexapod condition. Furthermore, in winged insects, the wings are attached specifically to the mesothorax and the metathorax. Because flying generates immense physical stress, these two specific segments are heavily reinforced with thick chitin, a tough biological armor. This structural reinforcement ensures the insect's body does not collapse under the intense mechanical strain of rapid wing beats during flight. Let us visualize exactly what these structures look like together. On the screen, you can see a clear diagram of the insect thorax divided into the prothorax, mesothorax, and metathorax. Notice how the leg attaches directly to the thorax. The leg itself is highly adaptable and made of 5 distinct parts. Starting from the body, we have the coxa, which acts like a hip joint. This connects to the small trochanter, followed by the large muscular femur. Next is the long tibia, and finally the tarsus at the tip, which often has claws or pads. This segmented design gives the insect incredible agility. Having seen the anatomy of the leg, we must ask why this matters for disease transmission. The specific modifications of an insect's legs dictate exactly how it interacts with its environment and its host. For example, the powerful enlarged hind legs of a flea allow it to leap massive distances onto a passing human, which is how the plague is transmitted. On the other hand, a housefly has specialized sticky pads on its tarsus, allowing it to walk upside down and mechanically transfer dangerous pathogens directly onto our food. A vector that cannot move cannot spread disease. Now that we know how leg structure aids transmission, let us look at the basic physics of their movement. To truly understand how an insect uses its legs, we need to measure how fast it can travel to reach a host. The walking or running speed of an insect, like a cockroach, depends entirely on 2 factors: how long its steps are and how fast it takes those steps. By quantifying this, we can determine exactly how efficient an insect is at covering ground. Insects with shorter legs must move them frantically to achieve the same speed as those with longer legs. This brings us to the mathematical relationship that defines an insect's speed. The formula is v equals f times lambda. Conceptually, this simply means that speed is the product of how fast the legs move and how far each step reaches. In this equation, v represents the velocity, or speed, of the insect, usually measured in centimeters per second. The symbol f stands for the stride frequency, which is the number of steps the insect takes every second. Finally, the Greek letter lambda represents the stride length, the physical distance covered in a single step. If either the frequency or the stride length increases, the insect's overall velocity will increase proportionally. Before we move on, let us see this formula in action with a concrete example. Imagine we are studying a cockroach, a dangerous mechanical vector for gastrointestinal diseases. We observe that it takes 15 steps per second, and each step covers a distance of 3 centimeters. We need to calculate its total running velocity. We choose our kinematic formula because it directly relates frequency and stride length to speed. We substitute 15 for f and 3 for lambda. Multiplying these gives us our final answer, 45 centimeters per second. Physically, this means the cockroach can travel nearly half a meter in just 1 second, making it incredibly efficient at contaminating wide areas quickly. While running is effective for cockroaches, other vectors rely on entirely different mechanics. Let us consider the flea, a biological vector responsible for transmitting the plague. Instead of running, the flea uses its highly modified metathoracic legs to execute massive jumps onto passing hosts. Because the flea has such a tiny body mass, achieving this jump requires an explosive amount of force generated in a fraction of a second. This incredible biomechanical adaptation in the insect's thorax is exactly what allows it to successfully bridge the gap between the ground and a mammalian host. To understand exactly how much effort this jump requires, we turn to a fundamental principle of physics, Newton's second law of motion. The formula is F equals m times a. Conceptually, this tells us how much physical push the insect's muscles must generate against the ground to achieve liftoff. Here, F represents the total force generated by the legs, measured in standard newtons. The variable m is the mass of the insect, which must be in kilograms. Finally, a is the acceleration the insect achieves during the jump, measured in meters per second squared. If the insect's mass or its acceleration increases, the required force must also increase. Let us apply this law to our flea to find the exact force of its jump. We are given that the flea has a tiny mass of 5 times 10 to the negative 7 kilograms, and it accelerates at a staggering 1,000 meters per second squared. We want to find the total force exerted by its hind legs. We use Newton's second law because it perfectly links mass and acceleration to force. We substitute our given values into the equation. Multiplying the mass by the acceleration yields a final answer of 5 times 10 to the negative 4 newtons. While this seems small to us, it is an immense, explosive force for such a tiny creature, enabling it to reach its host. We have covered a lot of ground today, so let us review the most important ideas. First, remember that the insect thorax is the central powerhouse of locomotion, divided into the prothorax, mesothorax, and metathorax. Second, Each segment supports highly adaptable legs made of 5 distinct parts, which are specially modified for running, jumping, or clinging. Finally, by applying basic physics, we saw how stride frequency and explosive force make these insects such dangerous and effective vectors of disease. Understanding these mechanics gives us crucial insights into how to stop them. Great job following along with these complex biomechanical concepts.